Week 6 was the week of the running back, and we saw some big-time finishes from guys like Bijan Robinson, Rico Dowdle, Josh Jacobs, Devon Achane, and Cam Scadaboo, all finding their way inside of the top 24 on the week. We had some surprise finishes from guys like Kamani Vidal, DeAndre Swift, and Bam Knight, who also all finished inside of the top 24. Tons to break down. I had 17 guys finish inside of the top 24, which puts me at 71% on the week. We've got some stats to go through to see if we can find some indicators for who might be on this week's top 24 to help your fantasy lineups, only here on the Face Off Sports Network. As we look ahead to this week, it's important to remember who's going to be on bye. We've got the Bills and the Ravens on bye this week, so that means we don't have to worry about Derrick Henry and what's going to happen there. We're going to move Josh Jacobs down to our bench spot. It's time to talk about some names who we're going to have in Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, and Tier 4, and go through a couple streaming options. All sorts of things happened this past week. Like I said, it was the week of the running back, and it's great to see here with the Face Off Sports Network a bunch of guys for us to talk about. And let's start with Tier 1. Christian McCaffrey, Jonathan Taylor, Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan Robinson, Josh Jacobs, and Devon Achane. I've said it once, I'll say it again. All of these guys in this first tier just consistently are going to live here. The key here is that the offensive lines are good. 3 of the 6 teams here all have top 10 offensive lines. You could throw in Green Bay and Indianapolis. They're just outside of the top 10. Kind of depends on what metrics you're looking at. But let's start with Christian McCaffrey, who capped off a week with 24 points, had 17 carries for 54 yards and a touchdown, had 7 catches for 57 yards, gets to take on the Atlanta Falcons. Sunday Night Football, this is another one of those easy plays. I mean, he's currently in points per touch. He's top 10 among running backs with over 50% of the snaps, averaging almost 1 point per touch. I mean, unbelievable player. He continues to be so involved through the passing game. No one's even close to him when it comes to targets, so you play him with confidence. Let's talk about Jonathan Taylor, Indianapolis Colts running back, taking on the Los Angeles Chargers this week on Sunday. Tougher matchup there. He capped off this past week with 24 points, had 21 carries for 123 yards and a touchdown, added 4 catches for 14 yards. I mean, this guy is the definition of consistent. All sorts of running back metrics, he's just up there at everything. Yards after contact, he's a top 10 leader. Yards per attempt, he's a top 10 leader. He's first in touchdowns. He's first in points per touch. I mean, the guy is just unbelievable right now. I mean, you just can't say anything else. You're going to continue to play him. Now let's talk about Jahmyr Gibbs, another one of these guys who has a great offensive line in Detroit, gets to take on Tampa Bay, a little bit of tougher matchup up front. Vita Vea causes some problems a lot of times in between the tackles. That's going to be on Monday night. Not a great week for him, though. He only had 8 points, 17 carries for 65 yards, added a catch, but the metrics are still there, guys. I mean, he's one of the top 10 players in points per touch. He's got 4 touchdowns, which is top 10 among all running backs. He continues to be involved. He continues to get opportunities inside the red zone. Yes, he's going to split opportunity with David Montgomery, but a lot of the Lions' struggles was just a product of that game that happened on Monday night. So continue to play him with confidence. Things are going to get better. But let's talk about Bijan Robinson, who was the running back 1 on the week. Fantastic performance. I mean, 36 points, 19 carries for 170 yards, a career high for him. Had a touchdown, added some 6 catches for 68 yards. Another fantastic week. And Bijan is just one of those guys, again, who is consistently at the top of all the metrics that I'm going through. Points per touch, he's averaging just over 1.16 points per touch. That's insane. He has top 10 in yards per attempt at 5.83 yards per attempt. He's up there in yards after contact. I mean, the guy is just doing it all. So there's not much you can say other than, the Atlanta offense is still kind of getting better, getting more informed, but they're still a good run blocking unit up front. So, they take on the San Francisco 49ers. That defense took another hit with Fred Warner getting hurt. So I think it's going to be a little bit better for them, but I do like the matchup for him. Even against a tough defense, he's so good, he's going to get it done. Now, Josh Jacobs at my running back 5 takes on Arizona. That's a fantastic matchup. If we look at what he did this past week, 32 points, had 18 carries for 93 yards and 2 touchdowns, added 5 catches for 57 yards. I mean, he's just a do-it-all back. You can't say much about him. I mean, this Packers offense might be a little bit inconsistent throwing the ball, but they're great at running the ball. I mean, he's 0.92 points per touch. He's got 6 touchdowns, which is second among all running backs. He continues to be a guy that's doing it all on the ground, through the air. You got to play him. He's going to be in this top tier for me each single week. Now, to cap out tier one is going to be Devon Achane, and this has been the volume guy all year. We've said it. I mean, 31 points on the week, 16 carries for 128 yards and 2 touchdowns, had 4 catches for 22 yards, continues to be involved through the air. Another guy that's top 10 in points per touch. You see the trend here. All guys in this top tier are top 10 in points per touch. He is also top in yards per attempt at 5.13. And surprisingly enough, Devon Achane, he's a smaller guy, but he still gets it done. He's top 10 in yards after contact. So I like him this week. Yes, he takes on the Cleveland Browns, so that's a little bit of a tougher matchup. But when we step back and look at it, we just got to know Devon Achane is the volume play. He's going to get all the opportunity, tons of workload, so you're just going to play him. He's a top guy. I mean, I had him at 7 last week, and he continues to prove it. So he's earned the right to be in this top tier. When we see guys like James Cook go on by, so he's someone that I would expect to have a chance to be the RB1 on the week, even in a tough matchup. But let's talk about tier 2, and there's some names in here that I know didn't perform this past week, but there is better opportunity ahead for them, and let's go through why. Starting with Saquon Barkley, Quinshon Judkins, Javonte Williams, Ashton Jeanty, Kyron Williams, and Rico Dowdle. Now let's start with Saquon Barkley. This season has been largely a disappointment. There's no way around that. He does take on the Minnesota Vikings, which they have been susceptible to the run. Ordinarily, we would say Minnesota's a tough defense, but not this year. They haven't been that good. Philadelphia needs to get back to the roots and run the ball. I keep screaming this, and they just haven't done it. They're trying to force Jalen Hurts to be a pocket passer. I think a lot of that is to appease A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith in this passing game, mainly A.J. Brown. But Saquon Barkley this past week, only 9 points, 12 carries for 58 yards, 2 catches for 9 yards. That's just simply not enough. It's not the Eagles team we've seen before. They need to get back to the roots. They got to find a win this week, and I think they can do that against Minnesota. Quinshon Judkins here, RB8 for me. He takes on Miami. It's a good matchup. I know it was a disappointing week, only 4 points, 12 carries for 36 yards. The volume continues to be there for Quinshon Judkins. You're going to play him. You just got to have him fall in the end zone. The Miami matchup's good, so I like him this week. I think he can be a good finish for you on your fantasy team. Now let's talk about Javonte Williams. This Dallas offense continues to be one that just scores a ton of points. They're pretty good run blocking. They don't have a defense, so they have to score 30 or 40 a game. They take on Washington, which would ordinarily tell you that's a stout run defense, but I'm here to tell you, I'm a Washington fan. I watch every single game. I don't think they're a good run defense at all. They struggle mightily. I mean, DeAndre Swift absolutely torched him. More on him later, but for right now, let's talk about Javonte. 8 points, 13 carries for 29 yards, added 5 catches for 5 yards. He's top 10 in yards per attempt. He's top 10 in yards after contact. So he's one of those guys that I think you're going to continue to play. Better days are ahead. He's been so involved. He's been so consistent to start this year. You're going to continue to play him, and I think he's going to get better as we move forward. But let's talk about Ashton Jeanty now at my running back 10. Takes on the Kansas City Chiefs. Decent matchup there. The Chiefs are playing better. They continue to get better on offense, but that defense still is susceptible to some points at the running back position. This past week, Jeanty had 17 points on 23 carries for 75 yards and a touchdown. Added a couple catches for 4 yards. The touchdowns are going to come for him. They're not necessarily there to start the year, but he is top in red zone carries, so the TDs will be there. He's one of the top 10 leaders. I think he's top 5 in yards after contact. Jeanty's offensive line play has not been very good, but he continues to make things happen. So you're going to play him. This Raiders team, they might get blown out, but they find a way to make it tough on Kansas City every single year. So that's worth noting. But Kyron Williams, running back 11, this offensive line, so good, man. They take on Jacksonville on Sunday at 9:30 in the morning, so be sure to be aware of that game. This past week, he had 17 points, 13 carries for 50 yards and a touchdown, added 2 catches for 37 yards. Just like Jeanty, the red zone carries are there. He got his first rushing touchdown this past week, but he's still top 5 in red zone carries. I think he's going to get some more touchdowns as we go forward. He's one of those guys that, again, top 10 in points per touch. With over 50% of snaps, he's averaging almost 0.93 points per touch. So he's getting the volume, he's getting the opportunity, and he's performing with it. He just hasn't had an opportunity to fall in the end zone. And again, that points per touch is a metric that all of the guys in those top tiers are up there. So Kyron Williams is one of those guys that could easily sneak his way up if he should find his way in the end zone. And last but not least in tier 2, let's talk about Rico Dowdle. Man, I mean, what a story for him. Takes on his former team again in Dallas. Gets 34 points, has 30 carries for 183 yards, added 4 catches for 56 yards and a touchdown. I mean, there's not much else to say other than he had a performance of the week, man. I mean, he was fantastic. The metrics are a little skewed just because he hasn't had the opportunity like some of these other guys. But the Carolina offensive line is pretty good. So I'm going to trust that run game, especially if Chuba Hubbard's out. If Chuba comes back, we're probably going to adjust these rankings, move Rico down a little bit. The New York Jets, they are a tough defense up front, so he does have a difficult matchup there. But at the same time, he's proven that he can do it. I mean, he's top 10 in points per touch. I'm going to keep saying it. And then we look at yards per attempt. He's 5.83, which is tied for the league. He's one of the top 10 in yards after contact. So he continues to find a way to get it done, despite not being the true guy for this team and being thrown out there kind of to the wolves and figuring it out. So I like Rico this week. I think he's a good play, even in a tough matchup. You're going to play him. If Chuba's out, he's easily an RB1 for me that I want to play. Throw him in DFS, whatever I can do to get him in rosters just because he's so hot right now. But let's get to tier 3 now, and let's start with some more disappointing names. We've got Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt, Rachaad White, Breece Hall, Cam Scatterboot, Jaylen Warren, and DeAndre Swift. Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt, a.k.a. Bill, I love him to death, man. Not a great week. I mean, he had 6 points, 17 carries for 61 yards, had a fumble. That was tough to see. Had a catch for 7 yards. I mean, the opportunity is still there. It was nice to see that they still trusted him even after the fumble. There was a second fumble that happened on the drive where they could have clinched the game on a 3rd and 1, and the handoff just kind of got muffed by, Jaden Daniels. He never really got it clean, so there was a big issue there. I'm not too worried about it, to be honest. And here's the great thing. I mean, it's week 7, so we're trying to figure out can we trust Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt this week, and I hope we can. Again, I'm going to throw him in my lineups because the matchup against Dallas is frankly fantastic. Dallas is giving up points everywhere. I mean, we just saw Rico absolutely destroy them. There's an absolute real-world possibility that Ja'Cory can do that too. So I'm going to play him confidently if I can, get him into my lineup. He's a solid flex if you've got him down there on your bench. I understand the concern. I get it. If there was a better option, you could absolutely make the case for some of these guys below him, like Cam Scatterboot or Rachaad White, if you have him on your team too. But that being said, I'm going to trust the matchup. I'm going to trust the player. He still looked good. He still was making plays. It just wasn't his best night. And let's get to Rachaad White. Takes on Detroit. Tougher matchup there. This past week, 18 points, had 17 carries for 65 yards and a touchdown. Added 3 catches for 21 yards. It's just the volume, man. He's going to be in a good offense. We've got some injuries at wide receiver, so maybe that's a little bit more of an uptick for him. So play Rachaad White with confidence. I think he's going to have plenty of opportunity. But next up on the list is going to be Breece Hall. I know another disappointing week. Breece Hall continues to be one of those guys who the metrics say he should be pretty good. The fantasy points don't add up. And a lot of that just comes down to this Jets offense is not good. And that comes down to quarterback play calling, whatever you want to call it. It all kind of combines together. But Breece Hall continues to be someone that I want, especially long-term in Dynasty. I mean, it's a contract year. He could be one of these guys that we find get moved to maybe a running back needy team. I mean, we've seen the Chargers say they're buyers. I could see maybe Washington being a buyer, Kansas City. All sorts of teams out there need a running back, and Breece Hall is someone who could become available. Now, looking at Breece Hall's performance, I mean, 6 points, 22 carries for 59 yards. The volume's great. I mean, he's a leader in yards after contact. He's a leader in yards per attempt at 4.66 yards per attempt. I like him. The Carolina matchup, it's a little bit difficult. I mean, Derek Brown makes things a little bit chaotic inside. He's a heck of a force in there. So it's one of those things where if Justin Fields can score some points, it's going to be a better day for Breece Hall. If this offense struggles, then Breece Hall is going to do the exact same thing he just did, a ton of volume and minimal points. Cam Scatterboot, fantastic week for him, 31 points, 19 carries for 98 yards and 3 touchdowns, added 2 catches for 12 yards. I mean, the volume is there. This offense, I think, is a little bit skewed. I mean, they kind of ran away with this game. The 3 touchdowns is not something that I think you can necessarily predict to happen again. He's a touchdown leader right now with 5, which is 3rd among all running backs, or tied for 3rd. He's averaging, 0.97 yards fantasy points per touch. So he's in that top metric. So that's worth noting. Again, I'm trying to track that to see if that's something worth tracking, to see if that's someone we want to, have on our roster. Of course, we want someone that's high in fantasy points per touch, but Cam Scatterboot on not necessarily a great team is high up in a lot of these running back metrics. So, it's someone you want on your team long-term. It's an interesting play, what this Giants team could look at with Jackson Dart in the future. Running back 17 for me, Jaylen Warren, Pittsburgh Steelers running back, takes on the Cincinnati Bengals. Pretty good matchup. That's a Thursday night game for us. Only 8 points, 11 carries for 52 yards, added 2 catches for 11 yards this past week. Another one of those volume plays. I think this Steelers offense is going to continue to kind of find their mold. Jaylen Warren has been a big part of that. Kenny Gainwell has looked serviceable at times, but Jaylen Warren to me looks like the best running back there. I like the matchup, so he's one of those fringe RB2 guys for me going forward. And let's cap out this tier with DeAndre Swift. Absolutely destroyed my Commanders last night. 26 points, had 14 carries for 108 yards, had 2 catches for 67 yards, and a massive touchdown. The opportunity there is he takes on the New Orleans Saints, not necessarily a good team. The defense would be surprisingly ranked high against running backs. I know that would shock some people. A lot of that's just because they're giving so much against through the air. I do expect DeAndre Swift to be another serviceable back. He's going to get plenty of opportunity. It's worth noting Kyle Monangai had plenty of opportunity in this game too against Washington. They worked in Rashawn Johnson. It's enough to give him a break, but it's not enough to say you're not going to play DeAndre Swift. So continue to play him with confidence. The volume's there. He looked okay. So maybe it's kind of on the up for him. But let's talk about tier 4, kind of close out these guys here. We've got Travis Etienne, J.K. Dobbins, Chase Brown, David Montgomery, Jordan Mason, and welcome in Kamani Vidal. So let's start with Travis Etienne. Takes on the Los Angeles Rams. Tough matchup there on Sunday morning at 9:30. 10 points this past week, 12 carries for 27 yards, added 4 catches for 28 yards. He's one of those guys that's top 10 in yards per attempt at 5.28. So he's been really efficient when he gets the ball in his hand. He's a contact leader. He's got tons of big plays, high up there in breakaway percentage, high up there in breakaway yards. So Travis Etienne, if this Jags team can continue to hold it together and block and sustain their blocks, he finds a way to make plays. So I get the defensive line for the Rams is tough with Fisk and Verse, but at the same time, if they can hold it, get him on the outside, get him between the tackles, Travis Etienne can make things happen. He'll get the opportunity at the goal line. Yes, they're working in Bashal Tutin. Yes, LaQuint Allen's getting a little bit of run too, but I do think that this Jags offense is kind of starting to find themselves, and I expect them to continue to get better. Let's talk about J.K. Dobbins, though. Takes on the New York Giants on Sunday. Not a great week for him. Only 4 points for 14 opportunities for 40 yards. So ho-hum week. He's up there in touchdowns, tied for 5th among all running backs with 4, averaging 4.86 yards per carry. So he's getting it done when he gets the opportunity. They're going to continue to split the role, so you just got to be prepared for weeks like this. But they took on the Jets in London. It was kind of just a weird game altogether. I expect the Broncos to kind of get a little bit back to form and play better. But Chase Brown here at running back 21, I have lots of hope for Chase Brown going forward. He was one of these guys that was up there in tier 2 to start the season, kind of dropped down towards tier 3, and now is in tier 4. Taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers, not a terrible matchup, not a great matchup on Thursday night. This past week, 9 points, had 9 carries for 42 yards, added 2 catches for 7 yards. The touchdown opportunities will come, guys. I mean, we saw with Joe Flacco taking the helm, the offense looked a little bit better. Now, albeit a lot of it was in garbage time, and you have to understand that this team is still not the same without Joe Burrow. So Joe Flacco can throw the ball 40 times. It doesn't mean they're suddenly going to be a playoff team. It could happen, but they've got a lot of work to do. Regardless, Chase Brown is one of those guys that currently is top 5 and carries inside the 5. So if he can just find his way to fall in the end zone, this is going to look up a lot better than it's been. So I like Chase Brown going forward. I think better days are coming for him. So just stay the course. You just got to hope that he can kind of be one of those guys that's got about a 50 rush yard line, and then maybe he gets 2 or 3 catches for another 15 to 30 yards. And if he falls in the end zone, it's a great play. So he's a solid flex or an RB2. But let's talk about David Montgomery as my running back 22. This Detroit offensive line is good. I know it didn't show this past week against the Kansas City Chiefs on Monday Night Football, but he had 8 points, 4 carries for 24 yards, 2 receptions for 37 yards. The opportunity just wasn't there, but again, they were behind. They were trying to find a way to score, trying to make big plays. The return, all sorts of things happen in that game, and it's going to happen. They're 2 good teams. I think a lot of people have overreacted to the Chiefs. We got to remember that Patrick Mahomes and this team still need to be respected. So I expect David Montgomery to bounce back against Tampa Bay in a good matchup, which could lead to a ton of fantasy points to be scored. Jordan Mason at running back 23 here for me, had a bye week, so no stats for him. Takes on Philly. Tougher matchup up front. We know that Philly's going to come out a little bit ticked off because they needed to get things back in order. Jordan Mason's going to be the volume play. Until Aaron Jones gets back, there's plenty of opportunity for Jordan Mason to have, possibly 20 carries and add a couple catches. So we'll see what happens there. But let's close out tier 4 with Kamani Vidal. Running back for the Chargers, stepping in with Amari Hampton going on IR. Takes on the Colts, so a decent matchup there on Sunday. This past week, 23 points, had 18 carries for 124 yards, added 3 catches for 14 yards and a touchdown. Fantastic week for Kamani Vidal. I did say that Haskins would be the guy I expected to lead the backfield, and he did. He was the starter, but it ended up being Vidal who's the one that was producing and looked a little bit better. I think he adds more to Justin Herbert's game, especially out of the backfield. So I think they're going to continue to split carries as we move forward. We'll see if the Chargers end up buying a running back. They have been known to say that they want a running back to be added to this group. But that being said, if you need a running back right now, Kamani Vidal, I think, is a fringe RB2, just given the fact he's got a good matchup where they're going to have to score some points, and he kind of got plenty of opportunity and plenty of to burn there in the Chargers offense to kind of get him cemented in this fringe RB2 role flex spot. So let's talk about some streamers, though. It's not necessarily the best week for streamers. So if you need someone, you're kind of stuck unless you've pulled the names that we've talked about in the last little bit. The first one's going to be Kamani Vidal, the man we just talked about, available in about 45% of leagues. A lot of this is due to people picking up Haskins. If he's out there, he's worth a pickup. You can play him this week, probably play him for the next couple weeks. If Amari Hampton comes back, then he just becomes someone that you can drop or just hold on to as an injury stash should something happen. Bam Knight, running back for the Arizona Cardinals. Solid week for him. 12 points, had 11 carries for 34 yards and a touchdown, added a catch for 21 yards. I mean, he had 51% of the snaps. That's probably the biggest part here that you want to consider. But again, I would give you the same advice that I cautioned last week. I'm avoiding the Arizona backfield if I can, because Michael Carter had just as much opportunity, didn't necessarily do anything with it, but that doesn't mean that it couldn't be his week this upcoming week when they take on the Green Bay Packers. So we'll just have to see. The Kansas City Chiefs running backs continue to be guys that I think are streamers or opportunities out there should you need someone to play. I mean, Kareem Hunt didn't get it done this past week, but he did the week before. The volume's there. I mean, he's going to get 6 to 12 carries, get a couple catches. This team trusts him at the goal line. So if he gets that spot, he's going to be good for you. The next option is Isaiah Pacheco, who got a little bit more burn and looked better this week, but he hasn't looked great this season so far. So the Chiefs running backs would be the next names that I'd be looking to if I needed a spot start for just this week. But that's going to do it for me. So be sure to check out the Face Off Sports Network for all sorts of content. We're live every single Wednesday. You can catch me and the mediators going live, answering all your fantasy questions. You can check out the Patreon. The link is in the description. You can join the Discord for free where we're answering questions all the time. All sorts of content. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next one.